I first joined the AES in 1974 as a student. I was attending the University of Waterloo at the time, and I was on the co-op program, so I would be 4 months on and 4 months off. And in the 4 months off, I was working as a design engineer at Yorkville Sound for Peter Traynor. So Peter was quite involved in the AES, and that's why I joined. It's kind of interesting because in looking at 40 years of the AES Society chapter in Toronto, I started quite close to the beginning, I think within the first 6 or 7 years. Yorkville Sound is a company that catered to musicians, and at the time, the whole festival thing was really just starting. I don't remember when Woodstock was, but it couldn't have been more than a year or two before. And there were a number of very, very large festivals happening in Canada. And the need for multi-channel, multi-microphone setups was fairly obvious. Yorkville made a simple 8-channel live mixing system. It had a little power amplifier built into it. And the 24-channel project was, I think, really unbeknownst to us, quite revolutionary. The concepts that were used in the console were taken from recording. I remember going over to RCA Studios with Peter so that he could show me their board. And I'll try to remember the name of the recording engineer that was there. But we looked at a couple of different studio boards and the concepts that they were using, mainly grouping. So it was a live board. I worked with Yorkville through their move out to Scarborough and the setting up a very modern factory, and the decision to just move forward with what we call the MX-24. And it was a very commercially successful product for them, which was a very big surprise to the management. Jack Long was very, very surprised at the attention that the console got when we took it to the NAMM show in Chicago. And the next challenge was actually producing the console. But after a year or so, I think the MX-24 sold for around $6,000 or $7,000. It came complete with a 150-foot multi-channel snake. It came complete with a stage box. And the most expensive thing Yorkville sold at the time, other than the MX-24, was, I think, $500 or $600. So they really just didn't have the understanding of where this multi-channel console thing might be going. And I think they felt it was probably not anything that was in the long term going to be commercially viable or successful. So Jack decided that they were going to cancel the project, and I went in to see him and asked him if he would mind if I took the intellectual property that had been developed and if I left and carried on. And he said, that's no problem. So that's what I did. Looking at the needs of multi-channel sound and sound effects for live performance, sound in musical theater, and the development of, what was it called? MAX, Matrix-Assisted Crosspoint. Now I have to give Charlie Richmond from Richmond Sound Design in Vancouver credit because Charlie described what was needed in the theater. He was building a manual console that was a matrix, X number of sources in to X number of outputs, which would feed loudspeakers in a theater, and the sound effect would be generated on an input and could be preset to come out of a number of loudspeakers in the theater. And what Max did was attempt to automate that process. So this was an automated sound effects console. We didn't really realize what we had. We were building it because we could. We were building it because we wanted to. We were designing and building this thing because this was something we thought we might be able to do. And the marketing side of it really didn't pave the way for larger scale acceptance. This was a console that was really way ahead of its time if you look back retrospectively. But yes, one of the first, John Hazen was a sound designer at Stratford, and it was wonderful that he saw this as a real opportunity because the sound designer at the time and the operators at the time had a terrible, terrible time doing anything sophisticated. And Max allowed them to do anything in a very sophisticated way. So it went to Stratford for a number of shows, and it also went into The Woods, which was a production in New York, twice. It was the first time round when that show started, and then second time round when it was revived. I transitioned quite some time ago from designing products to recognizing the excellent work done by others and the success that I thought they were going to have in bringing those new, fresh ideas to the market. So Gare Audio is a company today that represents what I believe is top of the market products, digital mixing consoles from Digico, matrix processors from Meyer, the level control systems from Meyer, like our Max console, which I spoke to John Meyer about many, many years ago when we were in the middle of that. Meyer loudspeakers, some of the products that we currently represent that I think are top of the market type products. So that's what we do today.